What's up, y'all? Back again with another NBA offseason video, and this time we are discussing about the best remaining free agents and predicting where they might go next, because honestly, even after all the madness and craziness that has happened over the past couple of weeks, there's still a lot of quality talent left on the free agency market. And not just them being quality talent, but talent that can immediately benefit a team, just by doing their roles and doing what they do best. So without further ado, let's go to our first remaining free agent, the one who I think is the best available on this board. A fairly popular name within, the rumors and stuff, Rui Hachimura. And honestly, in terms of being surprised of who's left, he might be the highest because, he just came off of one of his best offensive seasons. He was very efficient, especially from the perimeter, can give you more physicality and some post-up middies here and there, but mostly just for the fact that he is a wing who's able to shoot so efficiently, shoot so well wherever, especially in the corners. Kinda shocking to see that no one really has that much intentions to sign him, especially the Los Angeles Lakers. And even today, there's been a report that came out. I'm not sure how true or trustworthy this report is, but ultimately it was stating that the Lakers do not have any intentions on bringing him back. Kinda surprising, again, given that I listed out just how effective his offensive output is. Yeah, but the fact that some other teams weren't really interested, I thought Detroit might take a flyer on him. Instead, they take John Collins. I thought San Antonio would be a perfect place for him, but instead they went with Tobias Harris. And Mark Stein did say that there were some rumors of Minnesota possibly being in the mix and trying to convince him to come to their team. But ultimately, given their strict salary cap situation, I'm not sure if that's really possible, because I believe a player like Rui is worth more than just some simple $10 million per year contract. Plus, he definitely believes so too, and if we're going off of what his previous contract was, it was 3 years, $51 million with an average salary of $17 million per year. And while I'm not sure if he can receive an annual salary similar to those types of numbers, there are still a ton of teams who have non-taxpayer mid-level exceptions available, which is around the $15 million range. And honestly, I do believe, 3 years 45 or 3 years 48 is certainly feasible and something that I think Hachimura can get on board with. And just by looking at the list of the teams within that specific group, I do think there's one available team that makes too much sense for him to go to, and that is the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's right, that is my prediction. There's already been some rumors of LeBron's decision affecting Hachimura's decision as well, so if LeBron potentially returns, which will be awesome, then I'm sure Rui will be even more convinced to head to the Cavaliers team. However, that is not the sole reason as to why I think Cleveland is a perfect destination for him. 90% of my reasoning is just him feeling a dire need that Cleveland is missing, which is the wing position. They lost Dean Wade to free agency to Philadelphia. Jalen Tyson could potentially slide in as the 4, but given his size and how he didn't really perform that well in the playoffs, I'm not sure if that's something Cleveland is comfortable with. So Rui Hachimura coming over in free agency, I feel like will be a match made in heaven. He's not going to be the best defender per se, but when you have guys like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley backing you up, you're allowed to have a little bit of leeway. And once again, he's been one of the most efficient three-point shooters, so that opening up more lanes for Spider, Harden, potentially LeBron again, that will be super crucial. Now, the big question is, how is this feasible? And my answer to that is a sign and trade. I do believe that if Kobe Altman is monitoring this specific situation and just overviewing his roster that he constructed, sending Max Strus to the Lakers in exchange to sign Rui Hachimura is definitely the top option that is likely to happen. Not only do they help each other with matching the salaries, but both teams are getting someone that is a very enticing fit within their system. As I mentioned with Rui, if he signs a non-taxpayer mid-level exception type of deal, that's only a teeny bit under Max Strus' remaining salary. I mentioned all the benefits Rui can provide for Cleveland. Max Strus is the same. We all know he's one of the most lethal perimeter shooters and off-ball movers, which doesn't help when you have that type of player surrounding Luka and Reeves. He's also not afraid to put his body on the line, drawing charges, showing he's been very capable of being that glue guy. And why I bring up the idea of Cleveland attaching Strus to this trade is that these past couple of seasons, he's been very injury prone. I'm not sure if it's the same foot, but I just know that 2 foot surgeries, taking him out for majority of the year, really did not help Cleveland's case at all. So sure, there's going to be some traits that Strus provides that Cleveland is going to miss, but at the end of the day, Rui is more available, and one of the more popular statements within this sports community is that availability is the best trait, something something that I forgot, but I hope you know what I'm trying to say. So there you have it. That's why I'm predicting Rui Hachimura to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Our second most impactful remaining free agent, albeit this is more of a restricted free agent type of case, Peyton Watson from the Denver Nuggets. Now, to say that this has been a disappointing offseason for Watson could be a massive understatement. You know, several reports were stating that Watson was seeking $25 million annually at the minimum, but instead, the teams that had cap space were focusing on other targets, and now not many suitors remain. We're now left with maybe the Clippers can possibly give him what he's looking for, and honestly that's not an impossible scenario either. I can see Watson perfectly fitting with the Clippers' current timeline, and if he's able to maintain his offensive skill set, particularly that stretch when Jokic was out during the season due to injury, where he was just taking guys off the dribble and all of a suddenly hitting pull-up middies, that will go even better than what I assumed the Clippers would imagine. However, the big negative and ultimately the main reason why I think no one is really taking a chance on P-Watt is the availability, the injuries once again. I mean, there's also a part of three-point shooting, but mainly the injuries. We all know how impactful he can be when healthy, but mainly I think what a lot of the front offices are starting to believe is that just him being out could be a consistent trend or pattern. So yeah, it's a bit anticlimactic to predict this, but I do have Watson going back to Denver, potentially on the qualifying offer, but I also feel like, 15 to 20 million range of annual salary, that's honestly not a bad deal. Now, I'm not sure if ownership really wants to go that far, especially when they already have the Cam Johnson and Christian Brown conundrum, but I feel like just for keeping P-Watt happy, something like 2 years 40, 3 years 60 with a team option, especially if the market for him continues to be disappointing, then I feel like this will be the best case scenario. Next up to my third most impactful free agent remaining, Brandon Williams, point guard out of the Dallas Mavericks. I'm really surprised that no one has taken a flyer on him yet. I mean, it's not as surprised as Rui, but still fairly surprised because throughout Dallas's tumultuous past season, he was one of the few bright spots. Now, I do somewhat understand Dallas not taking him back, especially when they have a hidden gem in Ryan Nembhard. Kyrie is returning, and apparently they finalized a deal for Marcus Sasser, which cannot really be finalized until tomorrow, which is July 6th as of this recording. So yeah, maybe there's not a lot of room left for BWill, but just his inside game, mainly his driving, I feel like that is too good to pass up on. I'm not saying he's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's levels of efficient when driving towards the paint, but he's still pretty underrated in that aspect, and he can hit some really difficult shots, and I just know that there are a variety of teams that could use that type of rim pressure. Now, it's not like BWill is a complete player, because the biggest flaw is the three-point shooting. I mean, this past season, 23.2%, which is yikes. So yes, that is a fair concern to have. However, I feel like so many organizations are relying way too much on perimeter jump shooting. Having someone that can attack the paint fairly well surrounded by shooters, there's nothing wrong with that. We've seen that work countless times. And hey, if you want to make an extra supporting argument for Brandon Williams on your team, achieving 13 points per game along with 47% from the field, it's really not easy to achieve those type of numbers when your main strength is going inside, especially if you're a 6'1" guard. So I just feel like that just says it all to how impactful he can be. And when I just look at the list of teams that severely need guard depth, a bunch stand out. We can start off with Boston. There have been some reports of Brad and co being interested in him, but I can go with Detroit and Indiana because even though they do have solid backups with Danis Jenkins and TJ McConnell, what if one of those two go down with injury? Then you're in trouble. I mean, Miami could work as well, especially since, I don't think Drew Smith is scaring the hearts of the opponents. But ultimately, I am predicting that BWill goes to Boston, not just because I'm a Celtics fan and I love him as a player, but just those reports of the Celtics being intrigued by BWill Situation. I feel like there is some credibility to that, especially since, once again, end of season press conference, we could tell that Brad's intentions was to significantly change their offensive philosophy. So whether it's through the minimum or two-way contract, although I think that's a little bit unfair of a contract to give BWill, I don't really have any doubts that he will help out the Celtic squad. Now we are on to my fourth best remaining free agent, Russell Westbrook. Kind of a surprising choice, I mean, because when we look at just the patterns of how teams view him, they don't really view him in the highest regard. And while that is unfortunate, I still think a bunch of teams could use some bench depth. And hey, Russell Westbrook is coming off not the best season of his career, but a fairly productive one. Just him going back to his triple-double mode briefly, still having some high acceleration, even for a 37-year-old. Yeah, we could tell that healthy stature of his is not for show. Just his layups and how he works in transition, it is still something that is very difficult to guard. And for those reasons, I do have him going to the Miami Heat. When we look at this Miami team and their outlook, no doubt out they would like as many bench pieces as they please. So when you look at Westbrook and just how he might fit into Miami's new innovative fast-paced offense, along with playing off of guys like Andrew Wiggins, Giannis, Bam, while still effectively maintaining his defensive intensity, all of this leads me to thinking that he could definitely fulfill a proper six-man role. And hey, his three-point shooting this past season with Sacramento has looked much improved, and while I'm not sure how sustainable that is, if any sort of that shooting transfers over here to Miami, that would be so good. Like, that's such a bonus. Now on to our fifth and final remaining free agent. I would say his value at the moment is not really the most ideal, hence why he's last on this list, and that is Jonathan Kuminga. As we all know, his previous contract was 2-year, $46 million from that Golden State standoff that included a team option, which Atlanta took the advantage of on declining. And when we look at that contract annually, $23.4 million. Which, yeah, as you might assume, that's probably the highest he's going to get throughout his whole career. I don't think he's an extremely negative asset, but for sure he's a volatile player. However, if you offer a somewhat team-friendly deal, because maybe there's a chance he's come to the realization of what's going on currently, that he's not the most desirable wing piece out there, then achieving a contract like 2 years, $30 million, that's honestly not the worst. He's not going to take too much of a hit on your cap. Now the question is, where do I think he will go? As of this moment, I feel like he will return back to Atlanta. I still feel like he is a nice fit in terms of their identity, having their leading franchise player be Jalen Johnson, and garnering more lengthy wings. They recently received Aaron Wiggins in a trade. Asa Newell looks like he might develop into something solid, and I could very well see Kuminga coming off the bench and just going along with the athletic, long wingspan, transition, rim pressure type of offense, and it could possibly work well. Like I said, even though he's pretty volatile, he's shown that when invested, he could raise your team ceiling a good amount. We saw his impact in the early games of that Atlanta Knicks series. Is it anticlimactic? Sure. I mean, I'm sure we would all love to see Kuminga in a Lakers uniform, which means that they're in the same division as the Warriors. But in terms of what I feel like is best for Kuminga's career, I think Atlanta is the safest spot. So yeah, those are my remaining free agents available and where I predict them to go. And just for fun at the end, we also have some honorable mentions. First off, we have Yuki Kawamura, and recently he signed an Exhibit 10 contract with the Indiana Pacers, and honestly, I love the fit. If he stays there, I think that'll be perfect, just helping adding more overall pace, setting the tone with his playmaking, not being a bad defender either. Like, he's scrappy, he can learn from TJ McConnell too. I feel like on a two-way or 1 year guaranteed deal, that could be an amazing fit. It's all about whether the Pacers are willing to give Yuki a chance. Aaron Holiday is another underrated guard. While I do think that he doesn't really fit the six-man type of mold, he's still a guard that will give you a lot of value on most nights. So with that, I have him going to the Denver Nuggets, mostly because them re-signing Tyus Jones, man, that is, it's not really the best bet, I would say, for reserve guards. I feel like in terms of just proven ideal vets, Aaron Holiday is definitely the best selection, and he's still got his two-way ability. It might not be the same as in years past, but hey, he'll give you good defense and he'll knock down three-point shots. So I can't think of a better combo than that from, any type of role player. And last but not least, why not have something wholesome and fun? I have Kevin Love returning back to Cleveland. He's coming home, y'all. He's coming home on the veteran minimum. Like, hey man, great locker room presence, can still knock down triples. I mean, now that I think about it, come on, Cavs. Why not? Especially since you're trying to pitch LeBron to come to you, right? But yeah, overall, that is my whole list of free agency, what is left on the market, and who can help who. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you guys think that these predictions are realistic enough? Or will they never happen at all? Is there's like a 100% chance it's non-guaranteed? Again, free agency and the offseason has been a ton of fun, so let me know what you guys all think, and I'll see you next time.